Welcome back to the shop. Today I've got my Harbor Freight vibratory cleaner thing. I bought this some years ago. Sort of a long story, but anyway, I bought this to clean up tools while I was working at another job, and this was sort of just something to try to make a little bit of progress on tool restoration while I was in the more important things. But anyway, I'm sort of busy, but I still want to get some work done, so I'm going to try to take advantage of this machine. And I've got some V blocks that are apparently they could be in better shape. I don't really know how rough they are. You can see there's some weld splatter. They're never going to be perfect, but they will be useful in my drill press, and maybe even the vise at some point. But anyway, I'm going to throw these in this tumbler, and I'm going to throw in this nice set of cut pliers. They've got pretty ornate castings on here, and I can't quite make out who they are. I don't know if they're a set of Crowders or if they're some other off-brand. But what I'm going to do is put these in this tumbler, and we're going to give it a shot. This is not something that's going to solve all your problems for tool restoration, from what I recall, but I'm going to give it another shot, sort of reassess it. It's sat in the corner for a while because I remember it not working that well, but you know, these tools are nice and dry, the media is nice and dry. It's in rough shape, so we're going to take a look at some before and some after, and see if this thing is worth its weight, so to speak. So anyway, let's give her a shot. Alright, so here we are the next day. We've got roughly an hour and 15 minutes, maybe an hour and 20 minutes in this vibratory machine. Let's see what we got. Oh wow, look at that. Look at that. A little bit of more work, but you know, pretty good, right? Not bad. For an hour and 15 minutes of sitting inside. And then look at this. That's clean. That's cleaned up alright. There's some pitting, but I'm teasing. This thing didn't work for shit. I'll show you the real video here in a minute. Alright, so that was just about an hour. Maybe an hour and 15 minutes altogether. Yeah, that should be real nice.
Oh, you can get a brass rod and just fucking.
Alright, it's been a day. I've had some company in town, and it's been sort of rude for me to come out and work on this stuff, or if they want to sit out back and look at the lake or something like that. I just can't have the air compressor running and all this other shit. So anyway, I haven't been getting a lot of work done, and I've been busy with some other stuff. But anyway, where I left off last time was I was using my Harbor Freight vibratory tumbler thing to try to clean these up. So you sort of have a little bit of a before picture of what these look like, and I'm going to bring these over to the Sandblaster, then I'm going to wire wheel them, then I'm going to bring them back over here, and I have a new belt that I'm going to try. And that's a Scotchbright style 42-inch by 1-inch belt that I think might do a pretty good job polishing things up. Anyway, Sandblaster, wire wheel, back to you over here. Alright, I'm going to try to get these surfaces cleaned up. They're not going to be perpendicular, they're not going to be square, they're not going to be anything. They're only going to be flat. And they're just going to be flatter than they are now. They're not going to be flat, ox tools flat. They're just going to be as flat as my belt sander is. And I'm just taking it over there and cleaning up these surfaces. Again, these are not precision, these are rusted to all hell. And I'm cleaning them up. And what I'm also doing is I've sandblasted 2 of the 3. I've left one that's not sandblasted because I'm going to just assume that the vast majority of the viewers don't have a sandblaster. So this is just wire wheel. And I'm going to keep cleaning it up, and we're going to see what they all look like in the end and how much the sandblaster really has an impact on how the tools can look. So anyway, I'm going to have some footage cut in here of me flattening these out. So that's a little bit of footage of me trying to dress these edges up a little bit. Again, these things are so potted. There's big deep holes in it. I'm just trying to get them relatively flat. I don't want to pull another hatchet job and grind to no avail. So anyway, I've got these 2 of them sandblasted and then just dressed out on the sanders. I've got 2 sanders, one little Chinese one I got from the flea market, and then a big 1 horsepower jet. The jet is a real animal. If he gets a hold of something, you're not going to be able to hold onto it. So I like having the small one because when you really got your fingers in close and you're working on small pieces, it's way more forgiving. The big one will really move a lot of material, but it will tear you a new one if you're not careful. But anyway, I have 2 that are sandblasted and I have 1 that is not sandblasted. I've just dressed it out. Again, I've dressed all these sort of lightly, just try and make them flat. There's deep ridges, and I'm not going to spend all day grinding these. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on that Scotchbright belt on my 1x42 inch belt sander and see what it does to these. Oh, also I forgot I threw these snap-on pliers in there. I'm going to wire wheel these real quick and bring them back and keep these. I'm going to hit these with that Scotchbright wheel also. Alright, so there's the front half, and then there's the back half before, that's just being tumbled, and then just the Scotchbright belt. And then you can see how this handle shines as opposed to the unscotchbrighted. That's just been tumbled and wire wheeled. So anyway, this definitely is having an impact on here. I don't imagine that it's probably too much different than a really fine 200 or 400 grit sandpaper, except for the fact that it's getting into these little dimples very nicely and it's not removing any material, which I'm really happy about. That's the biggest challenge with these tools, in my mind, is trying to preserve the integrity of the knurling and the embossing and things like that, but also getting them, preserving that, but getting them clean enough to shellac or wax or paint or whatever you're going to do. But anyway, pretty happy with this, so I'm just going to Alright, so you might be able to hear some of the thunder in the background and whatnot, but the good thing, and of course you'll hear the rain on the roof, but when I'm cleaning these tools, this is a very pleasant machine to use because I'm not doing anything to the sound, it's just what it is. The machine is virtually silent. It's got a very old motor, I just keep oiled on it. The bearings seem to be in good shape. I grease the bushings and whatnot when I need to. But it's very pleasant to run this. I really enjoy it. The belt sanders, on the other hand, are a little bit more intense and less enjoyable to use. This is less likely to kill you or take a finger. I mean, you got to be careful with the belts and shit, but anyway, it's a very pleasant machine. I enjoy using it. Now onto the blocks. This is the unsandblasted V block. We'll see how that cleans up. This is doing nothing, literally nothing to these. It makes no improvement. It takes off a little tiny bit, but it's just like a really crappy sanded belt. It is horrible for stuff like this. Therefore, I'm going to conclude this test and say that this Scotchbright wheel is very good for cleaning and polishing tools, but it is horrible for things that need sanded, which is probably what these need. And it makes no impact on stuff that has been wire wheeled, that has the mill scale on it. The mill scale is so hard. The sandblaster really does a good job cutting through that. And I imagine any sort of abrasive would be the right choice for this, but again, I want to try to preserve the whatever squareness this may have had in its glory days, but anyway, let me wax these up and then I'll bring you back. It's a different brand. We'll see how this. Alright, so there we are. These are waxed up, cleaned up. The Sandblaster does such a good job of getting rid of the mill scale. This has been on the wire wheel, it's been on the Scotchbright pad, it's been even on the sanders and whatnot. Of course the sander took off the mill scale, but on the bottom you can see that it just looks so much. Granted, I sanded a little bit more of this one off, but there's no mill scale on this at all because of the Sandblaster. But on this one, you know, you're going to see every little last piece because it's so hard. And the wire wheel that I have, which is a relatively soft one, doesn't seem to touch it. Maybe a knotted wheel or something a little bit more aggressive would touch it. But anyway, that's where the Sandblaster really shines. So I'd say these all turned out pretty good for being junk. And I'm real happy with the snap-on pliers. Those will come out pretty well. I think the neat thing to take away from this video is that the Scotchbright belt does a good job of cleaning and polishing these tools without removing any unnecessary material, and it leaves some degree of patina on it. These are clean enough where I'm very happy, but they're not complete scorched earth, sandblasted down to oblivion and then repolished. So anyway, I think that that's going to fill a gap here that I needed in my shop for being able to preserve some of the patina and keep these tools still working. So anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing. If you got any questions, comments, whatever, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Have a good night. Alright, sorry about goofing around with that in the video. I just had to tease you a little bit with the vibratory tool. I think there's a place for this, but you know, it's more probably polishing than it is cleaning. So anyway, again, it's not a bad machine. I don't regret having it or anything like that. I just think that I need to find the right application for it. Anyway, we'll have to do some more research and figure out why I'm not getting, well, what my expectation should be. Let's just leave it at that. I mentioned before that my next video is probably going to be a vise. Well, I'm pretty much guaranteed that it is. I got this in the mail finally from eBay, and I thought it was steel in the picture, so I was happily surprised when I see that it's brass. So, anyway, I'm super happy with that. It seems to be pretty brass, because maybe bronze. There's just the slightest bit of magnetism to it. My little camera has a magnet on it. Anyway, we're gonna try to buff this out. I think the wire wheel, the nut here, and whatever steel parts that are on here. But then really just try to preserve this finish because it's pretty cool looking, brush stroked kind of brass. Polish this up. This will be a neat project. So anyway, keep an eye on the channel. This will be coming up soon. Thanks.